Check the 40 show. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty, yeah. Check the 40 shorty. Why you acting all gaudy? This ain't a pod, this a party.
Welcome back. We are back with the Fantasy 40 podcast. Little different thing this week. We're just taking a look at the afternoon games, the Sunday night game, and Monday night football with my co-host, Mr. Matt Walker. Let's jump right into this, sir.
Yeah, and John, this will probably be your favorite episode of the entire season, as we are
heavy afternoon
games. So you don't have to get up early and miss your beauty sleep to get in some of these. So let's get excited. And what better way to get excited than for the LA Chargers and Justin Bear heading to Miami, Hard Rock Stadium, for a 4 p.m. game. So right out of the gate, the NFL's like, let's do John DeBari some favors. Let's put Miami at 4 o'clock. It's actually doing the Chargers some favors because we know how the Chargers travel. So tell me about this game.
No, they do the opposite. When they lose, they should win. When they win, they should lose. Miami's actually a 2.5-point favorite at home, total of 48. So they're expecting some points in a close one. Chargers projected for 22.75, while the Dolphins are missing in action, 25.25. So there should be some points here. I don't know. I haven't been blown away by Tua, at least for fantasy purposes. He's looked to be decent enough, but this is a fun game for guys that play Dynasty because you're getting to see Bear and Tua, and there's a lot of young guys on each team here that kind of might be carrying fantasy rosters for the foreseeable future. Like you mentioned, kind of late game on the East Coast, which is unusual, but I am happy and I'll take it. I don't know what kind of fantasy production is going to be there. Bear's been really good, so I like him. Miami's defense has been surprisingly stout since they've gotten healthy. So as much as I would like to play Herbert in this game, I'm actually going to fade the Chargers. I think Miami wins this one, a real low-scoring game. So I don't like it for fantasy at all because I think this goes real low total.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tua looked amazing to me in watching the game. He looked fast and elusive. He scrambled more than I thought he would. He was decisive with the ball, and he put up fantasy points. So I was very pleased with Tua's first, I don't want to say real game action. The Rams game, the Rams just didn't make them have to do anything. So he got away with one in his first NFL start, but he went toe-to-toe with Kyler Murray, and he looked good doing it. So I am very optimistic about Tua Tagovailoa's stats, about his outlook as a fantasy viable asset going forward. But listen, 2 rookie quarterbacks doing battle here is going to be exciting. Miami has been better, since they're getting healthy on defense. But listen, they just gave up 31 points to the aforementioned Kyler Murray. And while Kyler is a different animal, that was only on 283 and 3 passing touchdowns. He ran all over him. So I think that Herbert can run. It's certainly not his calling card, but 300 yards is the floor for Herbert when he suits up, and I think it's going to happen again. Now, does he get more than 2 touchdowns? I don't know, but points are going to be scored in this game. I don't think Miami's going to be able to lock them down, and the Chargers don't have an answer for anyone anymore. They talk about a team that's just been hit with injuries. Bosa's out now, and who knows when he's going to be back. They're just not stopping anyone, which is making Herbert keep his foot on the gas the entire game. So fire up your Keenan Allens, fire up maybe Mike Williams. I want to say Hunter Henry, but who knows? I mean, even when the game was on the line, he's throwing a fade to Donald Parham, who can't bring it in. Like, I'm lost on what Derrick Henry did to Justin Herbert's family at some point in his life. What did I say?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. He probably did something to Justin Herbert's family too, but what Hunter Henry did to deserve just such lack of, red zone targets is beyond me. But we're burying the lead here. Kalen Ballage.
No.
Or right. Does it qualify since all of this is Adam Gase's fault at the end of the day and he's no longer in Miami? I don't know.
It can be both.
Yeah. So just when I thought he was dead, fantasy graveyard, Kalen Ballage, after Justin Jackson, the DFS chalk last week, gets hurt on the first play of the game, pass blocking on an RPO. and it becomes the Kalen Ballage, not Joshua Kelly. The shine is off of Joshua Kelly. He just got told to sit down by one of the worst running backs in the history of the NFL in Kalen Ballage. That's all I need to know. I'm done. Joshua Kelly, sell him for spare parts.
You're done. Get out. That was your guy.
Yeah, I'm done.
Amazing.
I've seen enough. He was a week one mirage, and now he just got Kalen Ballaged. And anyone that has that on their resume does not deserve a place in my heart. So you're dead to me, Joshua Kelly, unfortunately. So I'm not picking up Kalen Ballage. I'm not starting Kalen Ballage. Let's just hope Austin Eckler comes back sooner rather than later, because it's getting uglier in that backfield. But that's just going to mean more passing, which is just going to mean more Keenan Allen targets. And I love Keenan Allen targets at the end of the day. So exciting game on the Miami side. They don't have a running back of consequence. Maybe Brady plays, maybe he doesn't. If he doesn't, you can't start a single running back in their backfield. You're going to fire up Devontae Parker, especially now that Preston Williams is injured. And then hopefully the Preston Williams injury, not to try and spin an injury positively, but it should mean more work from Mike Gesicki as well. Anything else in that game?
No.
We said enough. We said too much.
All
right. Well, you want to get less excited? Let's talk about
continue this trend.
These Denver Broncos heading to your backyard, Allegiant Stadium, to do battle with the Las Vegas Raiders.
I love these bad weeks. It's just so much more fun. Vegas at home, 5-point favorite, total of 51.5. So one of the few games to crack 50 this week. Looking at the Raiders, projected to score 28.25. And why can't I find them? Where are the Broncos? I lost them. I'm incompetent and terrible at this. Oh, there they are. Way at the bottom. Much lower than I thought. 23.25. So not a ton of fantasy goodness. Drew Lock had a pretty big fantasy week last week. Most people I've spoken to while sitting on their bench, so that didn't help anybody. These AFC West games go in all sorts of different directions. They tend to be shootouts. It's not surprising when one of them goes a little under. So I don't trust anybody in here. Judy, I think, saw more work on the outside last week than he's seen all year, so they might be getting him more involved. He seems to be taking over that number one role over Tim Patrick. Do I trust him? Not really. Albert got some work again last week. He's eating into Fant, so everybody's kind of vulturing each other on this Denver offense. Same thing at running back with Gordon, and then Lindsey's banged up. Lindsey's healthy. Just kind of – you can't trust anybody here. I don't mind any of them in best ball leagues where you don't have to make a decision. But as far as like gun to your head, start this guy over that guy, boy, good luck if you have any Broncos. For the Raiders, Ruggs seems to be falling out of favor here. Seems to be Aguilar's kind of the favored target, if you want to even use that term. Waller's obviously the top guy in this offense. So you're going to play Waller if you have him. Aguilar would be the wide receiver of choice for me on the Raiders, and that's not saying much. And obviously Josh Jacobs is a good running back. But other than that, nothing. This game's got a lot of wishy-washiness for me, except for Darren Waller.
Yeah, I mean, let's right on to Darren Waller. Is he just a no-brainer tight end one this week since we don't have Kelsey or Kittle? I mean, the world we're in now, Darren Waller is like in a tier by himself.
Yeah.
At the top of the totem pole.
I don't disagree.
Crazy. And listen, we get the Alabama Crimson Tide wide receivers where John Gruden can see firsthand the boneheaded decision he made by drafting Henry Ruggs over Jerry Jeudy, who is in every way, shape, and form a better receiver than Henry Ruggs is.
He's not as fast.
Yeah, right.
That's all he cares about.
Can't run in a fast straight line as fast or jump as high and dunk basketballs during mixtape highlights. But wow, he can get 14 targets in a game, 29% target share from Drew Lock. And listen, Drew Lock scored a rushing touchdown, which is what was a large part of his fantasy value. That's not going to happen that often, other than the fact that no other player can run the ball in Denver. So maybe Drew Lock's taking it upon himself as he was the leading rusher last week with 47 yards and a touchdown. But really excited to see what this Denver offense can look like in the future, whether it's Lock or not. Judy, you get Sutton back, you have Hamler, and then you have those tight ends in Fant and Alberto. That's just a young, exciting offense to be tied to. I mean, if they can figure out running back, because Melvin Gordon isn't the answer, and Philip Lindsay just isn't an every down back. But listen, Locke is out of excuses, so I'm glad he put up some points. I need him to score this week because I am in a league with Patrick Mahomes. So on the bye, I am forced to start Locke after the huge week. So we all know what's going to happen. He's going to lay an egg against the Raiders in Allegiant Stadium. Going to be this like weird low scoring game where the Vegas Raiders run the ball 40 times. But what was it? Wow, stumbling here. Trying to read as I'm talking. Don't do that, folks. Bad podcasting. What I did write is that the Las Vegas Raiders love giving up rushing TDs. But who's it going to be? I said, Philip Lindsay's been the much more productive back over the last 3 weeks, unequivocally in every aspect. So we know it's going to be Melvin Gordon. 60 yards and a touchdown minimum. He's going to be a viable RB2 at the end of the day, and I hate it. Moving on to what should be an exciting game. And we're going to keep this one simple. You're going to tell me the totals, and I don't even want you to go into detail. We're going to skinny this one down. And it's going to just be power-packed full of fantasy goodness. The Buffalo Bills head to State Farm Stadium, Jake from State Farm Stadium, to do battle against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you said it. Highest scoring game on the board with a very small favorite. So Arizona is a 1.5 or 2 point favorite at home with a total of 55.5 or 56, depending where you get it. So both of these teams up near the top of the projected total board. Arizona with 29, Buffalo with 27. Tons of fantasy goodness. You're going to play everybody on these two teams. If you're looking for some kind of under the radar guys, maybe Dawson Knox or Gabe Davis on Buffalo side. For Arizona, Kirk's kind of come on and surprised me lately. I thought he was going to suck all year, but he's been decent last few weeks here. So he's in play too. But yeah, this is fire up everybody. Should be a lot of points. Should be a lot of scoring in this one.
Yes, this is the game of the week, and actually excited to watch it because there should be points aplenty. So this is what we're doing, and I did this once before, and you were like, wow, I like that. Let's do this more. And we're just going to get right to the heart of the fantasy goodness. Are you going with Kyler or Josh?
Well, now that we didn't fuck it up this time, I'm going with Josh Allen. It's a harder decision than it is, but for me, I'm going that way just with hope and positivity because I have more Josh Allen shares than I do Kyler Murray shares. So give me Allen.
Did you hear that Pete Carroll came out and said, we had a plan to stop the run versus the Buffalo Bills? We thought they were going to run the ball on us. that was his post-game presser. We had a plan to stop the run against the Buffalo Bills. It's just Jesus Christ. Well, you definitely didn't have a plan to stop the pass because he was just firing bullets all over the field. And Russell Wilson is becoming a little turnover prone. Total tangent for a later conversation, but someone who protects the ball so well, Russ is getting loose with the ball a little lately.
I mean, look, with the let Russ cook crowd, you're going to be throwing more often, and with that, you're going to have more interceptions and more mistakes and all that other shit. So, I mean, like we say with running backs, sheer product of volume. If he's going to be throwing the ball all over the place, he's going to be making more mistakes with it.
Yeah, I mean, 5 interceptions the last 3 games is very un-Russ-like, but we're not talking about Seahawks here. So
fucking bad ones too.
Yeah, they are. I'm with you with Josh Allen. It seems back from the dead. He had a big lull where he was a disappointment, but I just think him and his weapons are pretty impressive, and now they're going to be inside in perfect conditions. I'm going Josh Allen as well. So to those pass catching weapons, Diggs versus DeAndre. See what I was trying to do there, John, when I was making all these things make sense in my head? I said, or is it Christian Kirk? Because Christian Kirk has been a better fantasy wide receiver the last 2 weeks for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes, I'll go back to the well, DeAndre.
Like, get right game, right? Come on.
Yes.
Like, get him the targets. Like, I don't like seeing Christian Kirk getting 2 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks where DeAndre Hopkins just on the corner just sucking his thumb. Like, do right by DeAndre Hopkins. And then lastly, and I don't think this has as much fantasy value as maybe we thought it did a week ago, Edmonds or Moss?
Edmonds. I love Edmonds.
He sucked.
I don't disagree, but I think the upside is there. Moss is still competing with Singletary and Allen running the ball. So No thanks.
Edmonds had 25 carries. So I know you didn't watch a lot of football, but you saw the box score. 25 carries for a Sterling, 70 yards rushing. Miami is in a lockdown run defense. And he did nothing in the passing game. Caught all 3 of his targets for 18 yards. He was supposed to be like the greatest thing that had ever happened to a Kenyon Drake injury. And he fell as hard on his face, knocked his 2 front teeth out, and broke his nose as humanly possible in what should have been a big spot. Buffalo isn't lockdown rushing either, but I'll give Edmonds the nod because he doesn't have a Devin Singletary nipping at his heels. But I'm optimistic about Moss. He's clearly their short yardage guy. He's clearly their goal line guy when it's not Josh Allen. Moss is gaining steam, in my opinion, but I would go with Edmonds as well. So, yeah, I think we tackled enough in those games. A lot of fantasy points, probably some ancillary resources, like you said, in the Gabe Davises of the world, who still has to fight through John Brown and Cole Beasley, for targets. But they do go 4 wide, enough times that he can have some DFS value. All right. Off of that game, on to a division game that may or may not have a line at present. The Cincinnati Bengals head to Heinz Field for another 425 game on an East Coast stadium to face off against the 8-0, or is it 9-0? What are they now? Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a bye, right? So they're 8-0 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, sir. The last undefeated. And, yeah, there's a line. Pittsburgh, it opened at 10. It is now Pittsburgh 7.5. Cincinnati with the totals 47.5. So I love the Steelers. I think they beat.
Do you know why I said about the line?
Roethlisberger's on the COVID list, right?
Roethlisberger, I think he's
for an exposure though. He didn't test positive.
Oh, okay, all right. Because there was a lengthy list, including our boy Jalen Samuels on there. I didn't know it was a close contact. Okay, but
yeah,
he also has 2 bum knees from getting slapped around in that game. So I thought there was a chance that we might see Mason Rudolph again under center against these Bengals. But it doesn't seem like Vegas agrees.
No. So, Pittsburgh's 26.5 projected. Cincinnati's 19. So they don't even see the Bengals getting the 3 touchdowns. That Pittsburgh defense is fantastic. So good luck to the Cincinnati offense and Joe Burrow. I don't see anybody here really fantasy relevant. I mean, they could be trailing and have to throw a bunch of times towards the end. And since he's been very pass volume heavy, I believe Burrow has the most attempts in the NFL so far this year. So the volume may be there. I don't necessarily trust anyone. Tyler Boyd might be the beneficiary in PPR leagues just to get a ton of receptions, especially if they're down early here. I don't like any of the Cincinnati running backs for Pittsburgh. Boy, we talk about running back by committee for a lot of teams. This has turned into a wide receiver by committee. I saw earlier in the game last week that the box score Juju wasn't getting any work, and it was all going to Claypool and my guy Deontay. And then when I woke up later in the day, it ended up being a big Juju day. So I don't know if that was largely a product of Mason Rudolph or where that came from, but it's hard to trust anybody in this. No one's going to give you a goose egg, but it's hard to know who's going to be the guy that pops every week. They have a handful of good, solid wide receivers, and even if they lost one of them, Washington's been decent when he's been forced into action too. So I like them all. I don't trust any one to be the volume guy in a given week, but you could plug them all in and cross your fingers, and odds are you're going to be happy with the results.
Yeah, very well said. And it almost seems like whether it be that Juju's getting healthy or it's in these like kind of these big moments, Ben still looks Juju's way at the end of the day. I mean, when they're in these like wide open games and they can scheme to get Chase Claypool like wide open in space, and your boy Deontay Johnson can still be the target hog. It looks like when the chips are down, it's still Juju, to get these wins. And they had a barn burner against Burke's Dallas Cowboys on Sunday where they had to eke it out in a very ugly win. And while Juju still didn't get the volume, he got the critical catches and he had the biggest fantasy day. I mean, Claypool had 13 targets and Deontay Johnson still had 10. So Juju was the biggest fantasy producer in the game and still was on the least target. So I'm right there with you. It's just flip a coin. At the end of the day, did you read anything about Joe Mixon returning? Everything I've read is he was, slated to come back after their bye.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, but I would expect him back. So end of the Gio Bernard RB1 string for those Cincinnati Bengals. Do a quick rank for this game of the wide receivers, both sides, just not individually. Like, who's your favorite? Go down the big six of receivers.
Mix them together or side and side?
Yeah, together. Give me a 1 through 6.
Boy, I'll go Deontay Johnson just because I love him. Number 2, I think Boyd sees the volume. Then I'll dip back and go Claypool. Then I'll go Juju. Then I guess I'll go back to Cincinnati and go T. Higgins and A.J. Green.
All right, yeah, A.J. Green bringing up the rear, unfortunately. How the mighty have fallen. Sure. He's not – I'm not even arguing. He's number 6. I like Boyd. I think Boyd's just consistent, so he'd be my top guy. Can't argue with your DJ as he gets a volume, but his injuries do scare me. So I'm actually going to go
correct.
Boyd, Juju, DJ, Higgins, Claypool, A.J. Green. So I'm a little more on Juju than you because I think this is just going to be a rough division game. And I think Juju's going to show improve in the game. Moving on to, we talked about Seattle. Let's talk about your Seattle Seahawks. Head to SoFi Stadium to do battle in division with the Aaron Donald just got another muscle on his stomach. LA Rams.
Rams, surprisingly, are a 2-point home favorite with a total of 55.5. I don't know why that is. Rams are looking at 28.75 points. Seattle, 26.75. And I find that a little surprising because it's not like the Rams have – not that Seattle coming off that last game where they kind of laid an egg, so I kind of get where it comes from. But Seahawks are 6-2. Rams are 5-3. And I just don't see how they see that. These division games are usually a little closer, but, Seattle gives up a lot of points, but they're able to score a lot of points. So I do like the total here. But, this is the names of the fantasy relevant guys, the Rams backfield, that's full-blown committee. No thank you there unless you have to play somebody. So play the guys you like. I know for Seattle, I don't know what's going on at running back. I don't know if they still have the injuries there. Dallas saw his workload pretty slashed last week. Homer's got a lot more work. So if those are the two guys again this week, I expect that to look more like it did last week than it did 2 weeks ago. But, David Moore's in play every week now in addition to Lockett and Metcalf. So fire up your fantasy assets here, just like we said with that other high-scoring game earlier.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's recency bias, right, of this line, because the last time we saw the Rams play, they were getting absolutely embarrassed in Tua's first start down in South Beach, where Goff just looked terrible and was forced to throw the ball 61 times in a 28-17 loss. But now they're a 2-point favorite against the Seattle Seahawks just because they're at home. Who knows? Both these teams are pretty stout against the run. They're top 5 in rushing yards allowed. Seattle does give up rushing TDs. They've given up 11, while the Rams have only given up 6 on this young season. So temper expectations in those running backs, like you said. Who even knows who the Seattle running back is going to be? They can get away from the running back as easily as any team in the NFL and become a full pass-first offense. I said it early in the season with Chris Carson when he was catching touchdowns. Like, if that gravy train stops, you're not going to like Chris Carson, the running back, in your starting lineup. So fire up the receivers. Obviously, DK Metcalf is becoming just unguardable and just seems like trust with Russell Wilson is gaining. Metcalf's getting bigger and faster every week. It seems there's just no stopping him. If Seattle makes him a focal point of the offense, I don't care if Jalen Ramsey's on him. But, Tyler Lockett should have a bounce-back game. He's had 2 subpar games the last 2 weeks. On the Rams side, is Darrell Henderson healthy off the bye? Another one where it's a little early in the week to really know, but it's a muddied backfield as well with that 3-headed monster.
He's healthy. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think the Rams will want to run the ball to keep Seattle off the field. I am absolutely certain that is McVay's game plan going into this, is to test this supposedly stout Seattle run defense. I think Seattle's run defense is okay because everyone throws on Seattle. I'm not sure that they're really the best run defense. They have good linebackers, but their D-line isn't anything of consequence.
Getting better. Didn't they get like 8 sacks last week?
They are getting better. I don't know how many times they sacked Kyler Murray. He brings a lot of sacks upon himself by running around as much as he does. But
Josh Allen.
I think if Darrell Henderson starts, I'm comfortable starting Darrell Henderson. If not, it will probably be Malcolm Brown when I want it to be Cam Akers. So not much you can do there. And then it's only Kupp and Woods. There's nothing else in that Rams passing attack. So should be a good NFL game. Could be a slightly unexpected fantasy game. On to the last of the 4 o'clocks in a game that I'm sure the NFL thought was going to be just a wonderful way to close out the afternoon slate. The San Francisco Nick Mullins head to New Orleans, Mercedes-Benz Superdome, to face off against the just kick the shit out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, if you have New Orleans left in your survivor pools, I would be confidently plugging them in. They're a 9.5 point home favorite. Should be more than that. Total of 51.5, depending on where you get it. The Saints are the second highest projected total at 29.75, so just under that 30-point threshold. And the horrific San Francisco 49ers are down near the bottom at 19.75. So they're anticipating all New Orleans all day, rightfully so. I don't trust anyone on San Francisco. Maybe Jerick McKinnon. Hasty got a little more work, but they're going to get killed here. So I don't know how much he's going to get involved in the passing game. Banged up across the board at wide receiver. I think Lattimore got a little banged up, but as far as I know, he's scheduled to play. So good luck, Richie James, after your big game to draw Lattimore. For the Saints, Kamara's a fucking stud. Mike Thomas is back, another week under his belt. Hopefully he does a little more than he did last week and is healthy, but give me all the Saints you can get. I love Breeze this week. Kamara should be a monster. I wouldn't be opposed to playing Latavius Murray, especially we're up by fucking 21 at the half. So should be all New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, and they will get Brandon Ayuk back this week. Hopefully they get Deebo Samuel back because that will certainly help because you cannot run on the New Orleans Saints. They have allowed a NFL best 652 rushing yards on the season, only 80 yards per game, 5 carries the entirety of the Bucs game. But I'll tell you, you can throw on New Orleans. Everyone except Tom Brady apparently can throw on the New Orleans Saints. So maybe Mullins has a little success through the air, but he looked like a terrified grown man in that Packers game because they were just bearing down. But they were also without Trent Williams, who was on that same COVID list with Brandon Ayuk. So maybe they're a little healthier. Maybe they're a little more competitive. I agree with you. They're not staying within 10 of these Saints, even in what could be a letdown week for the Saints after they just showed improved on national television. But, I just wrote, what the fuck is San Fran going to do this week? I mean, like, what can they do? I mean, it should be McKinnon. Hasty's kind of started to plummet. They don't have anyone else at running back. So they get some pass catchers. Kittle's not coming back. So it's still Ross Dwelley and maybe Jordan Reed out there. Just the talent is just diminishing. You get Trent Williams back on the tackle. So maybe you can keep Cameron Hayward at bay a little bit. Cameron Jordan at bay a little bit. But if you watch, you didn't even watch the game. Trey Hendrickson was wreaking havoc in the Bucs backfield. He just was like unblockable, and so was Davenport. They just have pass rushers coming from every possible angle in New Orleans right now, and Mullins is going to throw some questionable passes in this game that will probably be returned for touchdowns. I like the Saints as a sneaky defense to start in this, not that they're on their own, but a DFS defense. They'll probably be a little expensive, but to your point, Alvin Kamara, even on an off night, was able to put up a solid 15 or 16 fantasy points against the stout Bucs defense. Or San Fran has a good run defense as well, but Kamara's getting his 6 to 8 catches, even if it is only in the first half of the game. He's still going to be good for at least 1 touchdown. He'll probably get you 60 to 80 yards conservatively. He's going to get you 20 fantasy points at the end of the day. Mike Thomas working his way back in. He'll get the volume again. The tight ends, it looks like Adam Troutman's getting more work, so maybe Jared Cook is starting to dip a little bit as Troutman's getting more and more work week by week. And then start Drew Brees. There's a lot of Taysom Hill on Sunday Night Football. He was in there quite often, but Brees still found a way to throw 4 touchdowns in the game. So if you have Brees, you're starting Brees. Stop doubting Brees. Brees will inevitably throw touchdowns, whether whether he has 25 or 45 passes in a game. Ugly game. But when we were talking on the early slate about the slalom, just join me on this double black diamond to close off week 10, right? Because we just talked about that game, right? Now, Sunday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens head to Gillette Stadium to do battle with the Bill Belichick. We went all in to win 3 Super Bowls, and now we have money problems. New England Patriots.
Yes, so Baltimore is a 7-point road favorite visiting New England with a total of 43. New England, for the first time I can remember in a long time, has the lowest projected total, not even up to 18 points, 17.75, while the Ravens are at 25.25 points. So Baltimore's defense is stout. Offensively, they're still trying to get it figured out, but they shouldn't have any problems doing whatever they want against New England. New England is lucky to have avoided their losing streak staying alive. They're going to start a new one this week, though. I think Baltimore wins easily. Baltimore's kind of, we'd mentioned before some of these teams doing a lot of committee stuff. Do you trust Gus? Do you trust DK? They're splitting the work there. Lamar Jackson hasn't been as amazing as we had all hoped this year. Mark Andrews has vanished into thin air, which sucks. Hollywood Brown's been bitching, and it did not get him any more targets. So the Baltimore offense isn't what we had kind of hoped. It's just not coming together like fantasy people wanted to see. And then for New England, boy, oh boy.
Nothing.
Disaster.
I mean, Jacoby Myers is still catching passes at present because he's literally the only one that Cam Newton trusts at all. But I said New England goes from disappointing on Monday Night Football to about to get throttled on Sunday Night Football. Well done, NFL. Did they not get the memo that Tom Brady was not returning to Foxborough? Like, adjust the schedule accordingly. Don't give New England back-to-back primetime games. It's disappointing, okay? It's just thoroughly disappointing by the NFL schedule makers. And I did say the Patriots are allowing an NFL worst 8.8 yards per attempt in the passing game. Said, can we please get the deep passing game going for Marquise Brown? I've been personally bitching for Hollywood Brown for like the last month on this show while he's been doing it in the Ravens headquarters about not being able to get on the same page. This is such a get-right game. Denzel Mims and Rashad Perriman look like the greatest wide receiver duo of all time against the New England Patriots. If Marquise Brown can't get deep for a 50-plus yard touchdown this week on Sunday Night Football, he ain't doing it this season. It's just I'll cash out any Hollywood Brown prop bets that I have because this is the week to get it done. That being said, Lamar Jackson is averaging under 190 yards passing per game on this season. And I'm like, wow, that sucks. Well, he averaged 208 yards passing per game last season as an MVP. So 18 yards difference in his year-over-year average. It's just not being exclusively funneled to Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown. That's the only difference. He's throwing it to other people. Way too much Nick Boyle. He's starting to throw to his running backs, which he did to Ingram in like some plum spots, but not with any type of volume before. But he has thrown one or fewer passing touchdowns in 50% of his starts this season. Lamar Jackson. Yep. Just not getting that TD rate, that unreplicable TD rate that he had from a year prior. So this is what Lamar Jackson really is. Not last year, is this year. You don't have these epically high TD rates and you keep them. You come back down to earth. He's around 200 passing yards a game. He's probably going to get you 50 or 60 rushing yards a game. You need him to get the rushing touchdown to have the value, and then hope he gets you to 1 or 2 passing touchdowns at the end of the day is how he stacks his points. But he's not throwing for 300 and running for 100 like Kyler just did last week. He's not doing it. He might throw for 200 and rush for 100. That's what you need to see old Lamar Jackson, and he needs to find his way into 2 to 3 touchdowns. He should be able to do it against these Patriots. Joe Flacco just looked like Super Bowl run Joe Flacco on Monday Night Football, where he was just dropping dimes all over this secondary until that ill-advised pass that kind of turned the tide in the fourth quarter. But this should be such a get-right game for these Baltimore Ravens. They should be able to pose their will on offense and defense and embarrass the Patriots in Gillette Stadium on Sunday Night Football.
You are correct. Well said. And to close it out, let's take a look at one more hunk of shit.
We are with a fantasy 40 bobsled team. That's what we are at this point in time. The Minnesota Dalvin Cooks head to Soldier Field to do division battle with the Nick Foles still led and seems like will be led because somehow Mitch Trubisky hurt his shoulder playing one snap last week. Chicago Bears.
Yeah, the opening line, according to the internets, was the Bears -2 at home with a total of 45. I'm assuming that was a glitch. Yeah, I'm guessing it's a glitch of some sort because everything now has Minnesota 2.5 or 3 as the favorite on the road. The total still at 45.5. Some spots 44.5, but for our purposes here, 45. Minnesota's looking at 23 total points. The Bears looking at 21, so should be close. I like these close games for fantasy purposes better than the blowouts because you never know who's going to get benched or what they're going to do differently to play catch up or whatever. So should be a little more predictable for fantasy. Obviously, for the Bears, Allen Robinson is in play. David Montgomery, who I think is a little banged up again. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive, but he's been getting the volume because they have nobody else. So it kind of is what it is there for the Bears. And the Jimmy Graham's been shockingly good most of the year. So feel free to confidently roll them out. Could be a Mooney game. I know you've been planning for it. He's got a little more involved each week here. And I do like him if Minnesota wants to try to shut down Robinson a little more. Mooney's probably the beneficiary of that. For Minnesota, as you said, all Dalvin Cook all day. Last week we saw Irv Smith score 2 touchdowns on 2 catches. Not going to happen again. It's an aberration. So I think Thielen has a good game here. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I feel like he always has decent games against the Bears. And PPR, he's always pretty steady volume-wise. Justin Jefferson kind of had a nice run there, slowed down a little bit, but no better time to get right than facing the stupid Bears. So I think he's in a good spot here. I don't trust Cousins to put up a good total, but I wouldn't be terrified of rolling him out there if I needed to help at quarterback this week, especially with the QBs that are on bye. So I like Minnesota to win this one pretty easy, cover that 3. I think the Bears stay in it, though, and I like the total. I like this game going over 45, to be honest. I think they each score a little more than they're projected this week.
Dalvin Cook has scored a touchdown in every game, a rushing touchdown, in every game that he's played in this year. Yeah. The last 2 weeks, his stat lines on the ground, 52 carries for 369 yards and 5 touchdowns. It's just he's going up right now. I mean, he missed a couple of weeks with that adductor muscle, and it looked like he's just as fresh as a daisy right now. Just explosive. I mean, that's not even counting a 50-yard receiving touchdown that he had against those Green Bay Packers. He's just otherworldly. He is easily the RB1 right now, probably for the rest of the season with the utilization that he's getting. Minnesota's not giving up on the season, and we talk about Mike Zimmer every week. This is exactly what the type of football he wants. He wants more rushes by Dalvin Cook than pass attempts by Kirk Cousins at the end of the day. The David Montgomery, concussion protocol, maybe because he has an extra day on Monday Night Football he plays, but does it really matter? He's just such the jag of all jag running backs, where it's just he's the new Mendoza line for a running back. Like, yes, he gets volume because there's literally no one even close to as average as he is in the running back room at present. But if they activate Lamar Miller, he could do more than David Montgomery does at his late stage ACL recovery days. I'm a little interested to see what an active Lamar Miller could do with a David Montgomery works here because he's a much better pass catcher than Montgomery. This is going to be a pass-heavy game script for the Chicago Bears because Minnesota should be able to run on them. The Bears are an average rush defense at the end of the day, and that will mean pass attempts for Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and maybe not Anthony Miller, who both of us loved and suffered through these last few years. But Chicago will probably need to pass to stay in it. Minnesota will try to run to minimize the clock. So, yeah, I am with Darnell Mooney again. I didn't get my 100 in a touchdown from Mooney, but he still put up a very startable fantasy game this last week. I think it was 70-some and a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, from Mr. Mooney. I should probably know this since I love him so much. Sorry, it was 43. It was 70 the week prior. So my apologies. I was a week off, but he was the target leader, 11 targets. That's where I was. Look at me coming full circle on the 40 as I'm just pulling stats out of the air and out of my ass. But he had the most targets, didn't catch most of them because Nick Foles is throwing the ball. Nick Foles doesn't connect on deep balls. The guy who's constantly wide open on deep balls. But yeah, start your pass catchers for the Bears. Do not start Nick Foles under any circumstances. Start Dalvin Cook on the Minnesota side. I'm concerned. You mentioned Thielen, and yeah, he might have a good track record against the Bears. I'm not going to fact check that, but it's just not enough volume. He's going to get like 6 targets at the end of the game, at the end of the day. So maybe he catches a touchdown, maybe he doesn't. I wouldn't feel too excited to start any pass catchers in Minnesota because I think the game script is going to go run early and often, control the clock, keep Kirk Cousins under 25 pass attempts at the end of the day. So Cook is the only one I have any confidence in on the Viking side, even though I think they easily win this game in Chicago.
Oh, and that's how you close on a whimper. Thanks, NFL schedule makers.
Yeah, well, we don't ever whimper. We go bold when we go out. So let's go. One bold prediction from John DeBari, one bold prediction from Matt Walker, and then we will get out of here.
I got 2. One not so bold. New Orleans wins by 28. But the other one, want to go bold? Bring one of my guys back into this. Van Jefferson, touchdown.
Van Jefferson touchdown dance. I tried to call that for you a few weeks ago. Didn't end too well for me, buddy. So, hope better for you. All right, you went with 2, so I'm going to go with 2. I'll never be upstaged on this podcast. So, Jalen Reagor, 120 yards and a touchdown for the Eagles. His first 100-yard game as a Philadelphia Eagle against those listless Giants. And secondarily, let's just stay with the young pass catchers that I like, and I am going to go with KJ Hamler. Goes 100 and a touchdown against those Las Vegas Raiders in your backyard as well. 2 young speedsters getting their first 101 games in their NFL careers.
I like it. So that will wrap this up for myself, John DeBari, for my co-host, Mr. Matt Walker, and the Missing in Action, Andrew Burke. We are the Fantasy 40, and we are out of here. Ow!
Kyler or Kyle? Who do you got?
I'm going Kyle just because I need it in places. I don't have Kyler anywhere.
I totally butchered this one. And I don't know why I made that one work in my head. It's not Kyle Allen. It's Josh Allen. When I said it, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So, and you just went with me with Kyle or Kyler. So I appreciate you. Let's try this again. All right. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
There's someone calling for the chairs at 3:30.
Okay.
Like just the chairs, but one of them has to be tightened.
You got it. All right.
We've got our outro.
I'm a husband first. Okay.